Broken chains, the cargo hold of the merchant vessel, stellar wind reeked of recycled air and desperation. Captain Marcus Vale ran his weathered hands through graying hair as he descended the metal stairs, expecting to find nothing more than misplaced inventory. Instead, he discovered a pair of luminous violet eyes staring back at him from behind a stack of supply crates. The alien girl couldn't have been more than 20 standard years, her pale blue skin marked with the distinctive silver patterns of the Catharian people. Her clothes were torn rags, and dried blood crusted a wound on her left temple. She clutched a small pendant against her chest, her breathing shallow with fear. "Please," she whispered in accented galactic standard. "I mean, no harm." Marcus had seen plenty of Catharian refugees over the past 3 years since their homeworld fell to the Terran colonial authority. Most ended up in labor camps or worse. The bounty on a single refugee could feed his crew for months, yet something about this girl's desperate courage gave him pause. "What's your name?" he asked, crouching down to her level. "Nira," her voice trembled. "Nira Veltar of the Mountain Clans." "Well, Nira, you picked a hell of a ship to stow away on." Marcus studied her face, noting the proud set of her jaw despite her obvious terror. "I'm running medical supplies too." "The Outer Rim, discovery means death for both of us." "Shh," she nodded solemnly. "I understand the risk you take. My people have a saying, the heart that shows mercy plants seeds in barren ground." Marcus snorted. "Pretty words won't save us from a firing squad." But even as he spoke, he was already calculating routes, thinking of places to hide her. Engineer Tobias always said he had too soft a heart for this line of work. "I can work," Nira offered, struggling to stand on unsteady legs. "I know ship systems, basic repairs. I won't be useless cargo. Ship's manifest is already filed. Extra person, and the customs scanners will light up like a festival." Marcus rubbed his jaw, studying her. But there might be another way. Hope flickered in those violet eyes. "Anything. There's an old mining platform, Epsilon 7, about 2 days out. Been abandoned for years, but the life support still functions. You could wait there while I figure out passage to the free colonies." Nira's shoulders sagged with relief. "You would do this for a stranger?" Marcus stood, extending his hand to help her up. When their fingers touched, he felt an unexpected jolt of warmth. Her skin was softer than he'd imagined, and she smelled faintly of some exotic flower he couldn't name. "Maybe I'm getting too old for this business," he muttered, more to himself than to her, as they made their way through the dim corridors toward his quarters where she could rest properly. Marcus found himself stealing glances at his unexpected passenger. There was something about Nira that reminded him why he'd started smuggling refugees in the first place. Not for profit, but because someone had to care. The ship hummed around them, carrying its secrets through the vast darkness between stars. Epsilon 7 mining station drifted like a metal tomb against the star-scattered void. Its skeletal framework and darkened viewports spoke of abandonment, but Marcus's new appearances could be deceiving. He guided the shuttle through the docking bay's magnetic field, feeling Nira tense beside him in the co-pilot seat. "It doesn't look like much," she observed, her violet eyes reflecting the station's emergency lighting. "That's the point." Marcus sealed the airlock behind them. "Nobody comes looking where there's nothing to find." Tobias Reed was already waiting in the docking bay, his toolkit slung over one shoulder and a concerned expression on his weathered face. The engineer was Marcus's oldest friend, a gentle giant whose massive frame concealed a surprisingly tender heart. "Got the life support running at minimal power?" Tobias reported, then stopped short when he saw Nira. "Oh, hello there." Nira stepped forward, offering a formal Catharian bow. "I am Nira Veltar. Your captain tells me you've prepared sanctuary for one such as me." Tobias's eyes widened. You're just a kid." "I have seen 22 cycles," Nira replied with dignity. "Among my people, I am considered adult." "Still a kid to me," Tobias said softly, his expression melting into protective warmth. "Come on, let's get you settled properly." The living quarters Tobias had prepared were modest but clean, a small cabin with a bed, desk, and personal hygiene facilities. He'd even found some books and entertainment files to help pass the time. The hydroponics bay is 3 levels down, Tobias explained, his hands clasped behind his back like a nervous schoolboy. I thought you might like to tend some. Plants help the place feel more alive. Nira's eyes brightened. You would trust me with growing things? Catharians are natural botanists, Marcus said from the doorway. Everyone knows that. Not everyone cares to know anything good about my people anymore, Nira replied quietly. An awkward silence settled over the trio. Tobias cleared his throat and began pointing out the room's features with exaggerated enthusiasm. Marcus found himself watching Nira's face, noting how her expression softened whenever Tobias spoke. The big man's kindness was having its usual effect. Later, as they shared a meal in the station's small mess hall, conversation flowed more easily. Nira spoke of her homeworld's crystal cities and singing forests. Tobias told stories of his engineering adventures across the galaxy. Marcus mostly listened, content to watch the interplay between his friend's gentle humor and Nira's growing confidence. You know, Tobias said as he cleared the dishes, I could use an assistant with those hydroponics. The automated systems are failing, and I'm better with engines than plants. I would be honored, Nira replied, then looked uncertainly at Marcus. If the captain permits? Marcus felt a strange tightness in his chest. It's your choice. But Tobias is right, the station needs tending. That night, as Marcus prepared to return to his ship, Nira caught his arm. Her touch sent that same unexpected warmth through him. Thank you, she said simply, for seeing me as more than cargo. Marcus looked down at her hand on his arm, small and blue-tinged, but unmistakably real, unmistakably alive. Get some rest. Nira, I'll be back in a few days. As his shuttle departed the station, Marcus caught himself looking back through the viewport. A single light glowed in what he knew was Nira's window, a beacon of hope in the endless dark. Its trust in Shadows 5. Days later, Marcus returned to Epsilon 7 with troubling news. The station's communication array crackled to life as his shuttle docked, and he found Nira and Tobias working together in the hydroponics bay. Delicate silver-leaved plants from Nira's homeworld grew alongside Earth tomatoes and Centauri grain. An impossible garden thriving in the depths of space. We've got problems, Marcus announced, without preamble. Colonial Authority increased patrols along all the main shipping routes. The usual contacts are spooked. Nira looked up from where she was carefully transplanting seedlings. Dirt smudged on her cheek. You mean I'm trapped here? Not trapped? But getting you to the free colonies just got a lot more complicated. Marcus accepted the cup of synthetic coffee Tobias offered him. There might be another option, though. I know someone who deals in off-the-books transport. Someone? Tobias's eyebrows rose skeptically. Helena Cross runs a trading post in the Meridian sector. She's got connections, but they don't come cheap. Marcus hesitated. And she's not exactly trustworthy. Nira wiped her hands on a cloth, studying Marcus's face. You're worried about more than money. Helena and I have ... history. She might try to use you as leverage against me. Then we don't tell her about me, Nira said simply. I could hide in your cargo hold again. Too risky. She's got scanners that can detect a heartbeat through 3 meters of steel plating. Marcus set down his coffee. No, if we're doing this, we do it straight. But you need to know Helena Cross would sell her own mother for the right price. 2 days later, they approached Helena's trading post. A converted asteroid mining facility that bristled with weapons and sensor arrays. Marcus felt his jaw clench as the familiar voice crackled over the com. Well. Marcus Vale graces me with his presence. What's the occasion, darling? Business? Helena? Nothing more? Her laugh was sharp as breaking glass. It's always business with you. Dock at Bay 3. And Marcus, come alone. The trading post's interior was a maze of corridors lined with black. Market goods, weapons, medical supplies, recreational drugs, and things Marcus preferred not to identify. Helena waited for him in her private office, reclining behind a desk made from polished meteor stone. She was still beautiful in a predatory way, with sharp features and auburn hair that caught the light like fire. Her smile revealed perfect teeth that somehow managed to look dangerous. You look tired, Marcus? The smuggling business wearing you down? Need transport arranged? Quiet passage to the Vega colonies for a ... client? Helena's eyes narrowed with interest. Must be some client to bring you crawling back here. What's the cargo? That's not your concern. Oh, but it is. Helena stood and moved around the desk with fluid grace. See? Word is you've been carrying refugees. Dangerous business, that? The kind that attracts unwanted attention? Marcus kept his expression neutral. I trade in medical supplies and rare minerals. Nothing more. Helena was close enough now that he could smell her perfume, expensive and cloying. Liar, you always were terrible at deception. Her finger traced along his jacket lapel. But I might be willing to help anyway, for old time's sake. What's your price? Her smile turned predatory. Dinner, just you and me like before. We can discuss terms ... privately. Marcus felt the familiar weight of Helena's manipulations settling around him like chains. But as he thought of Nira, waiting back on Epsilon 7, tending her impossible garden with gentle hands, he found the strength to step back. I'll consider. But first I want to see proof you can deliver what you promise. Helena's expression flickered with surprise and something that might have been respect. You've changed, Marcus. There's steel in you now that wasn't there before. As he returned to his ship, Marcus realized she was right. Something had changed in him, something that made him willing to face his dangerous past for the sake of a blue-skinned refugee with violet eyes and a voice like music. The dinner with Helena had been a disaster. She'd tried every manipulation in her arsenal, from seduction to veiled threats, but Marcus had held firm. In the end, she'd agreed to arrange passage to the Vega colonies for triple the usual rate, and a personal favor to be named later. Marcus had accepted, knowing he had little choice. Now, as he returned to Epsilon 7, he found the station's communication array broadcasting an emergency signal. His heart hammered against his ribs as he pushed his shuttle's engines to their maximum. Safe threshold. The docking bay was dark, except for emergency lighting. Marcus ran through the corridors calling Nira's name until he found her and Tobias. Barricaded in the engineering section, Tobias had a nasty cut across his forehead, and Nira clutched a plasma cutter like a weapon. Station security patrol, Tobias explained grimly. 3 ships, full sweep. They're gone now, but they left behind. Surveillance drones. Marcus felt ice form in his stomach. How much did they see? Everything. Nira's voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly. They have full biometric scans. My identity, Tobias's, even yours from the security recordings? Then we're blown, all of us. Slumped against the wall. Helena must have sold us. Out the moment I left her station. There's still time, Tobias insisted. I can rig the station's reactor to overload, destroy all the evidence, make it look like an industrial accident, kill ourselves in the process. Marcus shook his head. No, we run. Now. As they gathered essential supplies, Nira caught Marcus's arm. This is my fault. If I hadn't come aboard your ship, stop. Marcus turned to face her fully, seeing the guilt and fear warring in her violet eyes. You think I regret helping you? You should. You've lost everything because of me. Marcus found himself stepping closer, his hands coming up to frame her face. Her skin was warm and soft beneath his palms, and he could feel the rapid flutter of her pulse. Listen to me, Nira. These past weeks, watching you bring life back to this dead station, seeing you laugh with Tobias over dinner, the way you hum, while you work in the garden, it's been the most alive I've felt in years. Marcus. Her voice was barely a whisper. I've spent so long running from one job to the next, never staying anywhere long enough to care. But you changed that. You made me remember what it feels like to protect something precious. His thumb traced along her cheekbone, wiping away a tear she didn't seem to realize she was shedding. Not losing everything. I'm gaining something worth fighting for. The distance between them disappeared as if it had never existed. Her lips were soft and warm against his, tasting faintly of the herbal tea she favored. When they parted, she rested her forehead against his. I've never felt this way before, she admitted. Among my people, we have arranged partnerships, practical unions. But this, what I feel for you, ... I know. His voice was rough with emotion. I feel it too. A gentle clearing of throat reminded them they weren't alone. Tobias stood in the doorway, his weathered face creased with worry and something that might have been paternal approval. Not to interrupt, he said gently, but we've got company incoming. 3 ships, colonial authority markings. Marcus straightened, his hand finding Nira's. How long? 20 minutes, maybe less. Then we go with Plan B. Marcus looked at his oldest friend. Think you can make this reactor sing one last song? Tobias grinned, but his eyes were sad. She'll go out with a bang, worthy of the finest opera house in the galaxy. As alarms began to wail in the distance, Marcus squeezed Nira's hand. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The explosion that consumed Epsilon 7 lit up space for 300 kilometers in every direction. From the safety of his shuttle, hidden in the shadow of a dead comet, Marcus watched the station's final moments with a mixture of grief and relief. Beside him, Nira pressed her face to the viewport, her violet eyes reflecting the brilliant flare. Tobias made it beautiful, she whispered, like a flower blooming in the dark. Marcus nodded, unable to speak around the tightness in his throat. His oldest friend had chosen to stay behind, insisting that someone needed to trigger the overload manually. His last transmission had been characteristically cheerful. Give my love to the girl, Marcus, and try not to be such a stubborn ass about being happy. 3 days of careful navigation brought them to the rendezvous point Helena had arranged, a seemingly empty region of space near the Vega trade routes. But as they approached the coordinates, a sleek courier ship decloaked nearby, its hull bearing the markings of the Free Colonial Alliance. The ship's captain was a stern-faced woman, named Commander Janet Torres, who studied their identification with professional skepticism. You're the passengers cross-arranged. She said there might be complications. There were, Marcus replied carefully. But we're clean now. Better be. The Alliance doesn't need trouble with the Colonial Authority, or has gestured toward an elegant woman waiting behind her. Your sponsor wanted to meet you personally. The woman stepped forward with fluid grace, and Marcus felt Nira gasp beside him. She was unmistakably Catharian, with the same blue-tinted skin and silver markings, though her patterns were more elaborate than Nira's. Sister, the woman said in the musical Catharian tongue, tears streaming down her face. Nira's voice broke as she launched herself into her sister's arms. I thought you were dead. When the mountain clans fell, I escaped to the merchant quarter. I've been searching for survivors ever since. Kes held Nira at arm's length, studying her face. You look well? Different, but well. Marcus watched. The reunion with mixed emotions. Joy for Nira's happiness warred with a growing fear that she might no longer need him. When Kes's gaze settled on him, he saw intelligence and measuring judgment in her violet eyes. You are the human who protected my sister? I am. Kes, Nira interjected, moving to stand beside Marcus and taking his hand. This is Marcus Vale. He's the man I love. The words hung in the recycled air like a challenge. Kes studied their joined hands, then looked up at Marcus with new interest. Love, she mused. Not a word my sister uses lightly. Among our people, true love is considered a sacred bond, regardless of species or circumstance. I know I'm not what you'd choose for her, Marcus began, but Kes raised a hand to stop him. What I would choose matters little. What does she choose? Kes looked at her sister with gentle affection. Nira has always seen beauty where others see only differences. If she sees it in you, then perhaps I should as well. Later, as they traveled toward the Alliance colony world of New Eden, Nira found Marcus standing alone on the observation deck. The stars wheeled slowly past the transparent aluminum viewport, each one representing infinite possibilities. Having second thoughts? She asked, settling beside him. About what? About taking on a refugee with complicated family and a price on her head? Her tone was light, but he heard the uncertainty beneath. Marcus turned to face her, his hands coming up to frame her face in the gesture that had become familiar between them. The only thing I'm having second thoughts about is whether I deserve. Someone as extraordinary as you? You saved my life. You gave me hope when I had none. You showed me that kindness still exists in this universe." Her smile was radiant. "If anyone is undeserving, it's me." "Then we're perfectly matched," he murmured. Leaning down to kiss her, when they parted, Nira rested her head against his shoulder. "Kess says the Alliance needs experienced pilots for their merchant fleet. Good, honest work with full legal protection. Sounds almost respectable." "Too respectable for you?" Marcus chuckled, wrapping his arms around her as New Eden grew larger. In the viewport ahead of them, "I think I'm ready for a little respectability, as long as you're there to keep things interesting." The planet below was green and blue and alive with possibility, a place where refugees could become citizens, where love could transcend species barriers, where a cynical smuggler and a desperate refugee could build something beautiful together. Among the stars, as their ship descended toward the landing pad, Marcus realized that for the first time in his life, he was truly coming home.